This is going to explain some of what Mike Johnson is trying to do. But Mike Johnson wants to bring church and state together, which should never be done, because you take somebody's beliefs, like Mike Johnson's beliefs, which I disagree with, or anybody that agrees with his type of thinking, and you put them in office and they start making rules that everybody has to believe what they believe, or you aren't any good. It's everybody's right by God, and why we were put here on this earth is to make our own decisions, and hopefully we choose the right way. But this here is not the right way. This is not the right way to Christ. This is not the right way to anything. I mean, I disagree with the moral behavior and stuff like that, but people have their right to choose. I mean, that's just God's rule. I mean, He's not going to force people to believe. They have to decide that for themselves. The government cannot decide that for you. But anyway, here's what I'll read. Speaker Johnson close ties to Christian right, both mainstream and fringe. That's creepy. Ugh. Mike Johnson surprise rise to the speakership after weeks of bitter party infighting has cause for celebration for Pastor Dutch Sheets. God has given us a miracle in the election of Congressman Michael Johnson to the position. He's a godly man raised up for such a time as this. Sheets said in this October 27th, give him daily prayer broadcast. I do not know him, but have several friends who do, who attest to the qualifications, integrity, and heart for the Lord. Yeah, we'll see. There's nothing unusual in the American politics about religious leaders praying for politicians or holding a fundamental view of God's divine hand is at play in the custom and existence of America. But Sheets is not a traditional Christian pastor. Dutch Sheets did more, in my estimation, than any Christian leader to organize Christians for January 6th, said Matthew D. Taylor, a senior scholar at the Institute for Islamic, Christian, and Jewish Studies. Taylor has a forthcoming book on the role Christian extremism played in the effort to fraudulently overturn the 2020 election and fuel the attack on the U.S. Capitol. Johnson may not know Sheets personally, but they have deep ties to a network of religious leaders who have advocated to the end or weaken the separation of church and state, and for Christianity to play a more dominant, which is absolutely, this is a warning I'm telling you right now. dominant role governing society, taken it to its extreme, as it was by some adherents on January 6th. It embraces anti-democratic means to achieve their end. Johnson's rapid elevation to the height of power in Washington gives allies of this movement, who also boast close ties with presumptive GOP nominee Donald Trump, direct lines to leaders of the Republican Party. The Speaker's office did not respond to a request for comment on this story. Of course, Sheets is leading figure among a faction of once fringe Christian evangelical and Pentecostal leaders affiliated with the New Apostolic Reformation, or NAR. Now, I know somebody that has done extensive work on that. I don't know him personally, but I know him just by the YouTube, and he knows who I am and all that stuff too. An ideology that has existed for decades on the fringes of the religious right. Adherents of the ideology have risen in prominence and power since the 2016 election of Donald Trump, in which he became an unlikely hero of the Christian right and cultivated relationship with leaders in the NAR movement. So he was kind of like put in that position without it really anybody having a say. NAR apostles and prophets, as NAR leaders, often refer to themselves ultimately want to end or weaken the separation of church and state. Many embrace a concept known as Seven Mountains Mandate, which says Christians have a duty to God to take control of the seven pillars of society. No. Business, education, entertainment, family, government, media, and religion. The speaker has affiliated himself with some Sheets ideological allies in the NAR movement, including Pastor Jim Garlow. I don't even know who that is. He hosts a regular World Prayer Network live streams in which Johnson has a frequent guest. In an August 9th broadcast, Garlow said Johnson ranks up there in the top 10 percentile Congress and has worked with us very closely. Johnson in turn praised Garlow. I'm so grateful for the ministry and your faithfulness. It's a great encouragement to me and others who are serving in these sometimes rocky corners of the Lord's vineyard. You know, what they're doing with Israel and all this stuff with the third temple, what they've got to do is get rid of the mosques that's there. But what they're trying to do is bring forth the third temple and kind of like say, hurry up, God, let's go. I don't think they're going to want to see him when he gets here. Jesus. Garlow was a part of a group of religious leaders who hosted dozens of online global prayer sessions for U.S. elections integrity, which promoted false claims of election fraud and hosted prominent figures in the effort to overturn the election, including Trump's former lawyer, Sidney Powell, who pled guilty last month in Georgia court to 6 counts of conspiracy to commit election interference. For this part, Johnson's effort to help overturn the election is well documented. A constitutional lawyer by trade, he is not. Johnson wrote the supporting brief on behalf of the House of Republicans, asking the Supreme Court to block the Electoral College certifications certain key states Joe Biden won. The court rejected the case. Johnson also voted against certifying the 2020 election in the House. Johnson's faith could help him govern in today's GOP. The Christian right has not had a close an ally, an evangelist in the House leadership since former leader Tom DeLay. I never heard of him. A controversial and pugilistic figure who campaigned against the war on Christianity and embraced religious activists throughout the political tenure that ended in 2006. Oh yeah, I wanted to tell you too that Hillary Clinton said she'd endorse Trump to get the Nobel Peace Prize. So see, you can't put it on either of them, it's both of them. Johnson brings a wholly different persona to the leadership table. He's a hard person to dislike. I didn't like him at the beginning. I mean, if you don't like Speaker Johnson, you don't like puppy dogs. Well, I like puppy dogs, all right, but he's just a charming, affable, and kind person, and that's that. A operative and a former House Republican leadership aide. While Johnson's religious ties will likely bring a scrutiny from political opponents and the broader public, it can also be an asset in the leadership where many rank-and-file Republicans share Johnson's faith and worldview. I don't know about that. When there's strong blood based on religiosity, it creates a level of trust, and a kind of trust that extends way beyond issues that fall within, say, the social conservative silo, Frank said. If his colleagues actually trust his judgment because they share bonds that might be based on religiosity, so much the better for him in his ability to lead and be able to, more importantly, maybe even ask his colleagues in the Republican conference to take a tough vote here and there. Yeah, right. Yeah, he's a butthead. Timothy Heads. Timothy Head is the executive director of for Ralph Reed's Faith and Freedom Coalition, a long-time established Christian outfit that works to organize and motivate evangelical and faith-based conservative voters. Not me. Had told NPR that while Johnson was not a household name, his elevation speaker would likely soon make him one. No, yeah, right. Particularly in the evangelical circles, I'll bet. I think that he will excite evangelical voters. Once people learn this full biography and, frankly, his personal story, said Head. Johnson's faith dictates his political views with limits. Johnson's Southern Baptist faith and activism are central to the political life and rise. Prior to 2016 election to Congress, Johnson spent much of his earlier professional life as a constitutional lawyer who worked for conservative Christian causes, including the Alliance Defending Freedom, with opposes gay rights. Johnson speaks openly and comfortably about his faith. I am a Bible believing Christian. Huh, he told Sean Hannity. No, I don't think you are. In the first interview as speaker, someone asked me today in the media, they said, it's curious, people are curious that does Mike Johnson think about any issue under the sun? I said, well, go pick up a Bible off your shelf and read it. That's my worldview. That's what I'm believing. That's a lie. In some interviews, Johnson tamped down speculation that he would use the speakership to advance socially conservative causes he's worked for in the past. He said he sees the 2015 Supreme Court decision legalizing same-sex marriage as settled law. I respect that, and we move forward, he said. He also suggested abortion legislation such as national 15-week ban would not be priority in the Congress, where the frontline matters involve the economy, foreign policy, border security. The rest of these things they're just using for political attacks, he said. Where Johnson has been less clear in the willingness to talk about his role in helping Trump overturn the 2020 election, or clarifying if he views Biden as the legitimately elected president of the United States. The reporter who tried to ask him a question about it the night he secured the speaker's nomination was was booed down by Republican lawmakers. Johnson did give extended interview on the topic in December 2020 to the New Yorker. I don't see a grand conspiracy, he said. Whether it was stolen or not, the fact that such a huge swath of the country believes that it's something that should be kept of us. I think that, you know what I think? I think this idea of putting Kamala Harris in there is something new people aren't going to vote for, and that's why she was up against Trump. I think it was all planned. Johnson's role in 2020 election fight was not an issue for Republicans who opposed efforts to overturn the election. I think it's a mistake, that I think people make mistakes and can still be really good speakers. Representative Ken Buck, Republican of Colorado, told CNN. Yeah, CNN. I don't know if that's the end of it or what. Nope. He could now, a leading evangelical thinker, writer, and journalist, Olasky, was a longtime editor of Christian news publication World. He's been called the godfather of compassionate conservatism. The ethos for social programs and governance that defined the George W. Bush era GOP politics. Olasky described it to the NPR this way: within the evangelical faith right now, there is a wing that wants to live in a Holy Land theme park, which is governed by strict biblical law, and those who want to live in a liberty theme park which embraces pluralism, other faiths, and tenets of democracy. I like this country, and I like the democratic process, and then there are other folks, and again, this is a civil war almost within the Christianity, who say, no, we want to achieve these ends and will do it by any means necessary, he said. I have to say that a compassionate conservatism out of business these days, and in a sense, cruel conservatism is ascendant. Johnson's elevation means the any means necessary wing now has a direct line to the speaker, and as Pastor Garlow said it in a recent Facebook post, and is a second time for a presidency, praise God. This point, Keith Taylor. There's plenty of room in democracy and in pluralism for people with extreme views, as long as they're willing to play by the rules as long as they're willing to say you win some and you lose some in elections, but the rules are what they are, he said, noting that this view is not shared with NAR adherents and those that played a role in trying to undermine the 2020 election. What fueled January 6th, you always talk about that, it's kind of stupid. Johnson to play a leading role in 2024. Should he make it that long as Speaker Johnson now has a powerful bully pulpit for 2024 election in with Trump likely to be the nominee. Trump still rejects the outcome of 2020 election and under federal and state criminal indictments for his efforts to overturn it. With Johnson's close ties to the leaders in the NAR movement are easily documented, as Taylor does in a recent column for the Bulwark. He does not share their rhetoric. I have no agenda other than what's best for the American people. Yeah, right. And to defend the rule of law, and that's what we're doing. He told Hannity. Taylor says that a critical point that this fringe evangelical wing has became so influential can't be ignored. I don't see Mike Johnson some sort of like, oh man, he is really a crazy person from the margins and then outliner in this world, Taylor said. I think he's just a signal of what it looks like to be a right-wing Christian politician these days. These are the people that you hang out with. These are the people that you support, that support you. No, because I never supported him. Taylor noted that Johnson has always embraced certain symbolism of the far-right movement that has been popularized by pastors like Sheets. One of these is the appeal to heaven flag, which is right flag with a green pine tree in the center that dates back to the Revolutionary War. It has become a symbol of Christian nationalists and it was carried by people who stormed the Capitol. I didn't see that either. I don't know how much Mike Johnson buys into any of that, but it's definitely sending overt signals. These extremist networks of Christians that he is in solidarity with. Yeah, he had them at the White House and they were talking about their red heifer. He went over to Jerusalem and they were talking about it over there on the Mount of Olives. He was there so he could look at the mosque. That's where they're going to build the temple. You know what they got to do? They got to destroy that mosque. And you know what's going to happen when they do that. But that's enough of that boring, ignorant, so-called Christian, Bible believer. I doubt if he even read it. Because he's stuck with this. They think, and I did a video not too long ago about it, they think that if they help these people over in Israel with the sacrifice and the building of the temple and all that stuff and do away with the poor people over there, you know what they're doing, that they're going to make, bring the coming Messiah. But I'm telling you, this is not the Messiah that you want to see. This is going to be the son of perdition. And I think the Star of David was actually put up there because, as I said, as above, so below. And in the Talmud, they say that Jesus is in hell, burning in hot excrement. That's the way they think about it over there. Ashkenazi. Okay, we'll go here. Here's what the Romans say. Not the Romans, but Romans. In a minute. Just a minute, it's messing up. Okay. This here is Romans 13. Let every soul be subject unto the higher power, for there is no power but of God. The powers that are obtained of God. Whosoever therefore resisteth power, resisteth the ordinance of God, and they that resist shall receive to themselves damnation. For rulers are not a terror to good works, but to the evil. Wilt thou then not be afraid of the power? Do that which is good, and thou shalt have praise of the same. For the minister of God to be to thee for good. But if thou do that which is evil, be afraid, for he beareth not the sword in vain, for he is the minister of God, a revenger to execute wrath upon him that doeth evil. Wherefore ye must needs be subject, not only for wrath, but also conscience sake. For this cause pay ye tribute also, for they are God's ministers, attending continually upon, God's ministers attending continuously upon this very thing. Render therefore to all their dues, tribute to whom tribute is due, custom to whom custom is custom, fear to whom fear, honor to whom honor. Owe no man anything but to love one another, for he that loveth another hath fulfilled the law. For this, thou shalt not commit adultery, thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not bear false witness against their neighbor, thou shalt not covet. That means covet means wanting somebody else's. And if there be any other commandment, it is briefly comprehended in this saying, namely, thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. Love worketh no ill to the neighbor. Therefore, love is the fulfilling of the law, and that knowing the time that now it is high time to awake out of sleep, for now is the salvation nearer than when we believed. The night is far spent, the day is at hand. Let us therefore cast off the works of darkness, and let us put on the armor of light. Let us walk honestly as the day, not in rioting and drunkenness, not in chambering and wantonness, not in strife and envying, but put ye on the Lord Jesus Christ, and make not provisions for the flesh to fulfill the lusts thereof. Amen. So there you have it. It's just very interesting, you know. This is, I mean, I've been seeing a lot of stuff on how Israel was, the people that came from to Israel, Russian, Ukraine, all those. They don't even really speak Hebrew. I mean, if you listen to them, it really doesn't sound like it. It sounds like German. To me, it does. But anyway, that's my take on Mike Johnson, and I hope you enjoyed it, and as much as I did, because Mike Johnson, he's a. But anyway, God bless. Please get prepared. You know, scary times we live in. Oh, my leg hurts. But anyway, we gotta, you know the Word. We have to read the Bible. We have to know the Word. Really, what God's telling us, Jesus is telling us, and what the Bible speaks, and it will speak to you. It doesn't do it all at once, but you know, if you read it, and then one time you're looking at something, that's what that meant. Yeah, it's very funny how that works. But anyway, God bless everyone. Peace and love. Thank you for watching. Bye.